Holy cow, I have some technicals that you absolutely must see. I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education, and we were supposed to have a December 32nd last year, but somebody dropped the ball on that one. We're going to take a look at SPY, QQQ, IWM, and then out of big tech, we have NVDA to give an update on. Meta and Microsoft are both looking interesting. I want to bring those up. And then we have a little bit of crypto to talk about, including one of the crypto miners that we need to watch out for. So I would bring all that to you in this video. I'll also tell you how you can see my buys and sells through the Patreon, about my options course, and about the free stocks from Moomoo. In the meantime, we're going to bring that down and we're going to toss the charts up. And we're going to start off with SPY. So looking at the SPY, check this out. We got a rising wedge pattern right here. This could actually be something that causes the indices to reverse on us at some point in time. We've got to be watching for this. As long as we're staying inside of this, we're good. If we break out through the bottom of that trend line, then we can have a rather significant drop. So we do want to be watching for that one. And if we drop down from the daily chart down to the hourly chart on this one, you can see a little bit more context, especially if I bring about a better view. There we go. So we actually have room to the upside on this. We still have room up to like 480 or so, maybe even a little bit higher, depending on how long that we stay in this. But I do think that we're going to obey that top trend line. I don't think that we're going to be popping out of that top trend line. I think the next thing that we do to break this formation is we'll actually be popping out of the bottom of this at some point. But you can see that we have a fair ways to run in order to keep that going. So is there some punch left at the party? There absolutely could be, but we should be paying attention to the technicals that are out there and then playing them accordingly if we're trading in this market. And then going over to the Qs, you can see very much the same thing on the daily chart. We're still in overbought territory with declining momentum. So just like what we had in SPY and QQQ, we also have room to the upside in this. We still have room that we could possibly still see something like 416 pop out of this throughout today. And tomorrow we're going to have to watch for that. Where do these points meet? They actually meet right about that 416 number. You want to pay attention to the trend lines. You can see we peekabooed up out of it last time, and then we crossed back down into it. We also have another trend line, a minor one that you can put in here, that when that was broken, we had that significant sell-off, and that was Wednesday before Christmas that we actually saw that happen. So we're going to be watching these trend lines. Like I said, I am cautiously bullish on the markets. These are some of the technicals that confirm why I'm so cautiously bullish on the markets. We just need to keep on watching that. And when you check out IWM, we have very much the same story happening here. And I could probably make some adjustments on this to fine tune it a little bit more. That it actually isn't quite that tight, but it is still pretty tight, tighter than what we might see with SPY and QQQ. We've had some outperformance with the small caps, but we got to be real careful about what we see shaping up there. And when we look at the RSI on the hourly, we're actually crossing down below 50. So we could possibly see that sell back down to 203. And below that, we actually have a line for 200. Although for some reason, I got rid of that line for 200. I'll put that back up on there for you. There we go. So 200 is right about there. I'm within 1 penny of it, and now I'm at it. So that's where 200 is. And so we want to be watching for those things and playing accordingly. So moving from the indices into big tech, what we have here is NVIDIA. You can see the cup and handle. I actually drew on a trend line that we have happening right now that's taking place. And there's a really small bullish channel that we actually have right here would be across the tops of those. I'll put a trend line on that for you. There we go. And you can see so far we haven't been coming back up to it. Should the market strength hold out, NVIDIA stock could continue upward. The market bias is one of those things that I said you have to watch out for. That could totally spoil the cup and handle play that we have happening for right now, and maybe it might turn it into a double top instead. We got to watch that. We got to play it accordingly. So far, right now, the cup and handle is playing out. That explosiveness for NVIDIA either comes through news from the company or from an explosion in the markets as well, that we could absolutely see that take off. And then should the markets dump, big tech is likely going to go with it. We're just going to have to watch. Moving over into Meta. Meta has that same rising wedge look. When we look at this, and we just popped out of the bullish channel that we have been trading in. And so we'll see if we quickly return back down to that or inside of that, or if we tend to drop off in the middle of that. And this is the hourly chart that we're looking at. So if we go out to the daily chart, you can see that it's not that significant of a look, but check out the RSI on this. On the daily one, every time that we come up near that 70, we might hang in there for a while, but then we quickly return back down below 50. So we'll have to look and see, should we return back down to the bottom of this? That could send us back down possibly to between $330 and $340 per share for Meta as we look at it. When we look at what we have going on for Microsoft, this one, instead we have an ascending triangle pattern on this one that is a continuation pattern that possibly that we start to pop up from there. We're going to have to watch the RSI and see, as we've been trading sideways on this, it looks like the pressures building on the bears to give that 375 line to give us room back up to what we saw this last time. Where did we peak out on that? I'll give you that exact number. 384.30 was that high price that we had before. So about 384, 385 could be what we can see coming from that, maybe even a little bit more. Should we tend to continue to have strength in the markets, Microsoft would certainly be help for that. All right, so before we get to crypto, I do just want to tell you that if you want to see how I am playing these markets and see my buys and sells, you can do so over at the Patreon. I also have my options course over there, as well as my NVDA and Tesla stock price predictions and earnings projections. NVIDIA goes through to 2028, and Tesla goes up through 2030. And then moving from there, we also have our free stocks and the 5.1% APY on your uninvested cash through Moomoo. That's also available. Down in the description, you can find both of those links to get access to the Patreon and Moomoo. Getting back over to the charts, let's jump over to crypto. Mara has been on a nightmare of a tear recently, just traveling upward in this tight bullish channel that we have happening. And then what do we have? We actually had a pretty significant drop in the pre-market hours, and we'll see if we break down out of this bullish channel that we're in, or if we continue along it and break up above that resistance that we have at 32. We have support down here at 28, and then of course we have the trend lines on the channel itself also supporting us and serving as some resistance to the upside on this. So we're going to have to watch, and a lot of that price action, I did say, has detached itself from what we see in Bitcoin, but Bitcoin can still be the thing that causes that upward pressure to continue on this, even if the momentum does happen to decline and we sell off a little bit. So what do we have on Bitcoin? We actually have on the 30-minute chart here, you can see a really nice view of a possible inverse head and shoulders. We'll see if we instead return to the trend line that we have on this symmetric triangle play that we have right here, which watch the trend lines, see which way we break out of this. That'll tell you about Mara. That'll tell you about Bitcoin itself. We're going to have to watch and see which way we go. I still think that there's a lot of reason to believe that we could break through the top of this trend line, especially if we do get that inverse head and shoulders. And then this trend line is actually almost the neckline on that for the inverse head and shoulders, which is a bullish reversal that maybe that finally shows us that 45,000 plus that we could see for BTC. So we're going to have to watch for that one. Ethereum yesterday, we had a nice pop out of the channel. You can see what that looks like. So we actually had some pretty positive news about efficiency upgrades, I believe, possibly from Vitalik Buterin. I need to go back through and confirm that. But this is one that we did see a decent volume spike. And then today we went up just a little bit higher, although we have a high wick on that. We could possibly return back down, but we have broken out of that trend and we could continue upward from there. 2,500 is that next price that I see coming up for ETH, should we continue to the upside on that one. And then just to give further updates on Avalanche, as we've been following it, we actually broke down through support down here at about $41 per AVAX. And this is one that I think that we could return to, and that now that we've settled a good bit on this one, we could possibly return back and see some strength. We do have to be careful. I'm going to keep on giving these updates on here that we don't see this turn into a head and shoulders type play, that we return back up to this level over here, and then fill out that head and shoulders and then continue back downward. And so again, that circles back to what we see from Bitcoin, because strength for Bitcoin is going to be strength for a lot of the rest of crypto that's also out there. So for AVAX, I don't know that we'll get something like this, and we still have that bullish channel to pay attention to. Although we have fallen out of the bottom of it for right now, it does look like there could be possibly be some further settling in this. Maybe we even come all the way down to 37, 38 before we start to see that rise taking place. Again, for AVAX, we're just going to have to watch and see, but we do want to pay attention to potentialities that are out there based on the technicals that are here, or even possibly could be here, that we are prepared for those things, that we don't end up sitting back on our heels for something like that. All right, so let me wrap this thing up and let me summarize this for you. All right, so for the indices, I still think that cautiously bullish is the way to be. I do want to say to watch those trend lines, that should we fall out the bottom of the rising wedge, that we could have a significant decline coming out of that. So it is something to pay attention to, something to watch for. So for QQQ, we could possibly maybe see that 416 come out of that. For SPY, we could possibly see 480 in the future. But like I said, watch those trend lines. They're going to tell us what we need to know. Should we stay in between the trend lines, we could see further bullishness. Should we fall at the bottom of that, that would be bearishness coming out of that. So just watch for it. And then NVIDIA, the cup and handle play is either going to be made or broken by what we see in the indices. And then Meta, same thing. We could possibly see that rising wedge pattern return us back into its bullish channel that it was in. It could possibly send us to the bottom of that bullish channel, and the Microsoft could possibly pop in the near future. And the indices are, again, something that could definitely help that come to fruition, or it's something that could push us down out of the bottom of that. And then we have to go down and we have to find support, which, by the way, is around like 365 per share instead of about the 375 that we're currently trading at. So that can be 2 to 3% down on Microsoft. So we're going to have to watch for that. I think we're going to see good things from earnings coming out from from big tech. I think Microsoft is going to be there to capitalize. NVIDIA, Meta, I think is also going to tell us some good things. But with a significantly run-up price for Meta, I think that's something that can actually be a little bit of selling. But we're going to have to watch and see as we get closer to the big tech earnings dates and what the price action happens to be at that point in time. Bitcoin, will we see the inverse head and shoulders? We're going to have to watch and see. We have the symmetric triangle pattern playing out right now. Watch which trend line we break out of. Out through the top, bullish. Down through the bottom, bearish. So just keep watching. I'll keep on updating here on YouTube. Thank you guys for watching. Come on over and join us over at the Patreon. We'd absolutely love to have you over there. See my buys and sells and how I'm playing these markets. And then also down in the description, you'll find that link for Moomoo. Get your free stocks and your 5.1% APY. As always, I am Dr. Stock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning, and we'll see you in the next video.